Thank you for joining. Yes, we want to thank sponsors and supporters of this virtual conference. It is actually my first virtual conference, and I am happy to see that so many organizations support ventures like this. Now I'm going to show you the agenda for this presentation. I'm going to tell you briefly what US Mixed Fusion is, how we came up with STEMP. I'm going to show you a couple of videos, or pretend they are videos. I'll tell you in a minute why pretend. Then we're going to look at a couple of quotes, and then I'm going to go deeper into how the method works, this teaching method called Students Empowered. I'm going to talk about the responsibilities that the students have as well as the responsibilities that the instructor has. Then we wrap it up, and we will have time for questions and answers. So US Mixed Fusion is a non-profit organization. We started US Mixed Fusion about 4 years ago. We're based in Mexico. We also have a satellite office here in Houston, and mostly what we've been working on is support higher education institutions in their comprehensive internationalization efforts. And part of this meant that we felt like creating a teaching method that can be used for teaching foreign languages as well as content classes that would develop competencies that are key to in the 21st century, as well as integrating an international or intercultural component in every single lesson. Yeah, how we came up with STEMP. We constantly kept seeing, every time we walked by a classroom, whether it was in Mexico or in the US, that pretty much in every single classroom we were seeing a teacher in front of the class. And we were seeing students bored or distracted or not engaged, or even rooms where there was no discipline. And we thought there's got to be a way to change this and have students sit in the driver's seat and change the power structure. And as well, because we are one of our main things as part of our mission is to add an international and intercultural component into the curriculum in both content classes, pretty much any class. We said, why not add an international and intercultural component as part of this method? So that was the reason we came up with STEM. Also, and by the way, Jennifer Granger is not going to be able to join us. She had to go I'm in Houston. She had to go to San Antonio for professional activities, and so she's not going to be able to join us. But so you'll be stuck with me for this hour. And but we both have a combined experience of about 40 years teaching in many countries, as well as in Mexico and the U.S. And so we were ready to come up with something innovative, and hopefully you'll think this is an innovative method by the end of the presentation. Okay, so what is STEM? This is the part where I'm going to be showing you videos. I didn't want to take you to our website because I was afraid the video was not going to show. So what I did is I put together slides. I'm going to turn off my video, and you're just going to be listening to my voice, and you're going to assume you're watching at a video. So I'm going to turn this off, and this is the first video we're going to watch, or you're going to watch, is called "What is STEMP?" and the other one is the main components. And these two videos we actually have on our website. Our website is usmexfusion.org, and if you go to the icon that says STEMP, you get into a section where you actually watch these two videos, and there is also resources and materials on how to implement the method. Okay, so let's get started. I'm gonna go ahead and so this is the first video. What is the STEM method? Okay. If your classes still resemble the traditional method where the teacher has the power and spends almost all the time in front of the class, it's time for a paradigm shift. This method will serve to empower your students and will allow you to perform formative competency-based assessment on a daily basis. STEMP stands for Students Empower, and this method will allow you to give power to the students so that they can learn, they can be, and they can do. To let the students learn, we let them learn for themselves. To let them be, we let them be, and so that they can do, we let them do. To achieve this, we have to remove the teacher from the front of the class and let the magic happen, leaving students to learn, be, and do. The teacher then becomes a guide, a planner, and an evaluator. Guides the progress of the course in order to achieve the class outcomes, plans the entire course, assigning responsibilities to all students from the beginning of the course in a calendar or planner, carries out ongoing formative assessment for each student. This type of assessment forms or shapes students. In other words, this type of assessment will help the students better themselves in the learning process. The students become protagonists and take ownership of the course and of the learning process that occur both inside and outside of the classroom. In teams, students facilitate classes, prepare materials, and monitor learning. They create and perform scenarios where they represent real-life situations, applying the knowledge, skills, and attitudes covered in class. They become linking agents, both international and intercultural. They link the class with reality by bringing guest speakers from the community, including international guests as well as guests from regional indigenous communities or other cultures. If you want to learn more about how to implement the STEM method in your classes, please visit our website, usmexfusion.org, and you will have an open access to STEM training videos. Thank you for watching. Okay, so that was the first video. Let's quickly go to the next video, and hopefully this next video will give you a deeper understanding of the main components of the method and how the method works. Okay, so this video is called Main Components of STEM. STEM has four main components: class facilitation, scenarios, guest speakers, and portfolios. It is important to know that all components are managed by the students. The class facilitation is led by students, the scenarios are created and performed by students, guest speakers are identified and invited by students, and the portfolios are designed and compiled by students. These can either be a hard copy or e-portfolios or even blogs. We have seen in multiple pilot courses that these four components empower students in a successful manner. Before we get into the details of the four components, we would like to offer a caveat. We have piloted this method successfully in over 20 classrooms at both public and private higher education institutions, but integrating these four components at the same time may represent a big change for you and your students. So you do not have to incorporate all four components simultaneously. You can choose to pilot 2 or 3 at a time, or even start just with one. The first component, again, is class facilitation, led by students. This component is probably the most important of all. Empowering students means letting them learn. We let them learn autonomously so they are prepared to facilitate a class or a topic. Empowering students also means letting them do so that they can take responsibility of their teaching learning processes for themselves and for their classmates. We also need to let the students be. We let them be so that they are able to tap into their individual aptitudes, previous knowledge, and creativity without the teacher stepping in until it is needed. When students facilitate classes, there are three parts: presentation, an interactive activity, and a printed activity. For the presentation, the students are in charge of presenting or teaching a topic of the day, assigned by the teachers previously. For the interactive activity, students create and facilitate an activity that is interactive and that engages all of their classmates. Finally, they prepare and print a handout or sheet with one or two exercises that reinforce the topic learned. They walk around the room and monitor and help their classmates while they work on the activity. It is important to emphasize here that if students have a textbook, they can use the textbook as a source to prepare their presentation and materials, but it must not be the only source. The students are encouraged to find the best resources to facilitate their given topics. If we as teachers give students all the resources, how can they develop the competencies they require to distinguish valuable and useful information in an information society? We recommend for class facilitation, teams of 5 students. Every class facilitation would take 50 minutes, and 2 team presentations per week. Scenarios. Scenarios are a very important component of this method. Students prepare a script and act out scenarios representing real-life situations where they are applying the knowledge and skills acquired and developed over the previous 3 weeks. Scenarios promote student creativity and innovation. We recommend teams of 3 students, 5 to 3-minute scenarios, and 1 scenario that is done by all the students every 3 weeks. Guest speakers. Students in teams must identify and invite a speaker from the community to come to class. Students must prepare a 40-minute panel where they interact with the guest speaker, focusing on a specific topic in a way that it brings an international or an intercultural perspective about the topic or the topics that have been covered in class. We recommend 1 guest speaker every 2 weeks. Student portfolios. As part of the course, students keep a portfolio of all the activities and materials in class. It is individual work, and it can either be a hard copy portfolio or an e-portfolio. It may even take the shape of a blog based on student preference. Once a month, there is an instructor or peer assessment of the portfolio. Here is a visual of the 4 components structured in a calendar. The picture you see represents the first month of classes. This particular example assumes that class is daily, meeting Monday through Friday, and that it is a 15-minute class. You can see that starting week 2, students facilitate classes twice a week. Those are the red dots. After 3 weeks, all the students perform a scenario. That would be the green dot. After 3 weeks, all the students perform a scenario. Every 2 weeks, there is a guest speaker, and every 4 weeks, there is a partial assessment or review of the student portfolios. The days where there is no color circle are open for the teacher to work on particularly complex topics, give time to students so they prepare their presentations, scenarios, and portfolios with the assistance of the instructor, reinforce topics that have been presented by students previously, do some activities in the textbook if a textbook is being used, check homework, etc. If there is a textbook students are required to use, the textbook is used mainly at home. Important notes for the instructor. Strict enforcement of the following is imperative. Discipline and respect. Students must be cautious and show respect for the teacher and their peers at all times. There must be a strict coherence between what the teacher says and does. We cannot just talk the talk, we must walk the walk. Time management must be learned and deadlines must be met. Students must learn these important skills. There may be student resistance when it comes to the way the class is run. As teachers, we must stand our ground and ask for the students to trust in the method and in us. They will see benefits in a few short days. As we know, as teachers, we must not give favoritism to students. In this method, there is no place for teachers' pets. All students must be treated equally without question. Of course, there are always circumstances that can be addressed on a case-by-case basis, but those should be few and far between. Without these 5 conditions, STEM might not be successfully implemented. If you consider yourself as a complacent or an externized teacher, we do not recommend this method for your classroom. Instructors interested in piloting STEM in their classes are encouraged to work at least in pairs or groups of 3. Preparing, implementing, and observing the classes gives room for continuous feedback and peer support. Thank you for learning about the 4 main components of STEM, and thank you for your attention. Okay, so that was the other video that we have on our website. But like I said, I decided to just read it to you and use the slides so that you know, we wouldn't run the risk of actually the video not working. Okay, let's continue with our agenda. Hopefully so far you start getting familiar with the method, the teaching method, and you know, there is always going to be time for questions and answers. Okay, so from what you saw in the previous slides, basically what we do with this method is have the students do everything. And what I mean by everything is teach the lessons, facilitate all the topics. Every time they facilitate topics in teams, they do a presentation, put together an interactive activity, as well as prepare a printed activity. So in this method, if they have a textbook they have to use, they can use it, but it is not required. Pretty much at this point in time, all the information that we need to teach as teachers is available online. And we can really, if we decide to, we cannot use a textbook. And students have a wealth of resources and information over the internet that they can use to prepare their topics. Now, when a student or when a group of students are able to master a topic, to teach it, the best way to internalize that topic is by sharing it with others. And the best way to see that students have learned something is by observing how well they explain it to their peers. And so that is one part of the method. Also, students do scenarios. It is very important. Also, this portion is very important. We believe in drama. We believe in movement and emotions as part of the learning process. And so we have the students perform scenarios where they use information or skills that they have developed over the last 3 weeks, or they have learned over the last 3 weeks, and then they put together a script, and then they perform a scenario in front of their classmates, representing a real-life situation where they are using the topics that were covered. whether it is mathematics or whether it is a foreign language or whether it is history or whether it is whatever. Everything has to be landed to real life situation. They also do class facilitation, scenarios. Also, they invite an international guest or a cultural guest to the classroom. The students, we believe that the students are the best linking agents. And so they have to figure out where to get these speakers to come to the class and reinforce topics that were covered in class, but with an international or an intercultural focus. So they have to figure out where to find them, they have to invite them, they have to prepare with them, they have to tell them they're going to have a panel and they have to prepare the panel. And yeah, if the students design their own schools, I read your comment, Petra. Sorry, Thomas. Yeah, so everything is run by students. Now, why is everything run by students? We wanted the students to run the show because through our experience as teachers, we really did not have, when we worked as teachers, Jennifer and I, we didn't have time to assess. We really didn't have time to assess. We only had time to assess qualitatively or assess or do summative assessment. Quantitatively, sorry. We only had time to assess quantitatively through summative assessment, but not qualitatively through formative assessment. So what this does is it gets the teacher time so that the teacher can assess, do formative assessment, do this kind of assessment that gives the student the feedback, the ongoing feedback that lets the student learn better, which is something that does not happen through just assigning a grade or a number after taking an exam, a written exam, for example. Even in this method, there could be no written exams, really. Okay, so quotes for reflection. When we, on the first day of class, you know, when we show up, we tell the students, okay, so you're going to be in charge of doing all this. And then, of course, you're going to get the student that says, oh, that's what you are getting paid for, teachers. You're paid to come and do all this, and now you're asking us to do it. Yes, you are the ones who are going to do it because you are the ones who need to develop these skills and competencies. I have already developed these competencies. I already have the knowledge. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend all this time giving you feedback on how well you are developing these competencies and how well you are learning what you need to learn. Now, we tell them, when it comes to teaching, on these three, on this slide, there are three things that we believe summarize what good teaching is. We tell the students, teach the way you have always wanted your teachers to teach you. You know, there is even some people that say students can be the best teachers because they have observed thousands of classes throughout their school life. They already know what works. They already know what gets others bored. They already know what gets them bored. They already know what kind of personalities teachers have that make classes interesting and engaging for students. So they have been observing thousands of classes, and they already know what could work so that their other classmates learn. Now, this is another very important clue that we give our students. You have to ask yourself every time you plan an activity for your classmates this question: does my class stimulate the mind, the emotions, and it also stimulates movement? And we tell students, if your class or what you facilitate does not accomplish this, then we can almost assure you that what you're going to do is going to be forgotten by your classmates. The third thing is we ask them to wake their creativity up, innovation, and use their previous knowledge, use their talents, tap into their aptitudes, tap into their previous knowledge, in order for them to, we pretty much let them be yourselves, and so we let them be. That's what we mean by letting them be. Okay. Student responsibilities. So, like I said, I've already explained this: class facilitation, scenarios, international guests, portfolios, and anything else you want to include, anything else you want to ask them to do. It is important that, let me go to the next. Okay, let me explain the teacher responsibilities. And no, wait a minute. Now that I'm talking about this, student responsibilities, let me give you an example of how a calendar looks like when planning the entire course ahead of time. This is a lot of work for the teacher, because the teacher has to plan every single class before the beginning of the quarter or of the semester. The teacher, this particular example, this particular calendar is for a class of English as a foreign language in Mexico. So every class specifies the topic that is going to be covered, the team that is going to be in charge of this topic, whether there is going to be scenarios on that day, whether there is going to be homework, what kind of homework. So teachers have to prepare every single class before the beginning of the semester. And on day one, they give a copy of this calendar to every student. So every student already from day one has their whole course planned out. And so they already know when they're going to present. They already know when they're going to do scenarios. They already know when they're going to bring their international guests to class. They already know when they have to do peer assessment of their portfolios. They already know what pages they have to read in the book, if they have a book. They already know what homework they have for every class. They already know when the homework is going to be revised. They already know when they're going to have written exams, if the teacher decides to give them written exams. Everything is already laid out from the very beginning of the class. Okay, so let me go back to now adding to what the responsibilities of the teacher. Okay, before the first day of class, this means probably the 2 weeks prior to the beginning of the semester or the quarter, we recommend that they meet with 2 or 3 other instructors who wish to pilot this method in their classes and discuss the method, clarify doubts, contact us if they have questions, share with us the materials they're preparing so that we give them feedback. We ask them to create their calendar, like the one I showed you, where every single class is already planned. They prepare the rubrics for the presentations, the scenarios, guest speakers, portfolios, and anything else they will do in class. Everything has to be very clear. Students have to know the expectations. They create a syllabus, and they create materials to facilitate a class to set the tone for student presentation, expectations. This is very important. The very first week of class, as you can see here in this calendar, so you see student portfolios are orange, guest speaker blue, scenarios green, class facilitation red. This first week, on Monday, the teacher gives all, the syllabus, the calendar, the rubrics, everything gives all the papers that students are going to use as a reference. And then on Tuesday, the teacher has to give students a clear example of a student portfolio. On Wednesday, the teacher is going to facilitate a class and is going to give the students the rubric that is going to be used to assess all the facilitation of classes so that the students actually assess the teacher. And like I said, the teacher sets the tone. The green one, scenarios, the teacher has to perform a scenario to give them an example. And students can assess their scenario using the rubrics that the teacher has given them on the first day of class. Friday, the teacher has to bring an international speaker or a speaker that is going to add an intercultural or international perspective or dimension to the topic being taught during that first week. And then the rest of the weeks, the students are in charge. What the teacher is going to do is going to be assessing, doing formative assessment, using the rubrics and giving feedback to the students. Okay, let's go back to, so this is what they do the first day of class. What I mean by preparing rubrics, let me show you some rubrics. These rubrics are on our website also, and they're downloadable, so you can use them in your classes, whether you want to use the method or not, and whether you find them interesting or useful or not. So this is a rubric for class facilitation. We're not going to go in detail. The rubric for the scenario script, students have to put together a script to prepare the scenarios. The scenario performance for the guest speaker panel. So these are some examples of rubrics that we have used in the pilot courses that we've given using this method. Okay, teacher responsibilities for week 1. Teachers facilitate a class with the 3 components: presentation, interactive activity, a printed activity. They invite or host a guest speaker, explain the components of a scenario, perform one in front of the students, form presentation scenarios, and with guest speaker groups. So this is also important to do during week 1. The teacher says, okay, so we're going to create the groups that are going to be facilitating topics throughout the semester. So this is going to be group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4. And then in the calendar, the topic is going to say group 1, this is the topic that you're going to present on this day. Group 2, this is the topic that you're going to present on this day. And so students know their topics prior, at least 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 weeks prior to the time they are going to present their topics. So there is no excuses of, like, for example, you just told me yesterday, teacher, how do you want me to prepare for this? Well, you already knew. And also for scenarios, we recommend, like we said, scenarios of 3 students. So the teacher creates the 3 student groups for scenarios, as well as the teams that are going to bring their international guests or intercultural guests. This is the teacher responsibilities. Every class from week 2 forward, carry out daily formative assessments using the rubrics to assess the performance of every student, facilitate or reinforce particularly complex topics, check homework, enforce punctuality and attendance. Teacher responsibilities: every 3 to 4 weeks, observe a class of at least 1 more teacher that is also piloting STEMP, and meet with other teachers to share best practices, discuss challenges, work together on improvement. Teacher responsibilities: also assessing the class, assessing the method, assessing whatever takes place in the class. And what we recommend that the tool is also on our website available for download, is a SWOT assessment tool, where a student in the middle of the quarter of the semester the teacher in the middle of the semester of the quarter gives all the students this tool that is going to say strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And students are going to write what they think the strengths of everything that happens inside the classroom so far are, regarding the teacher, the other students, the materials, the method, the furniture, the audiovisual equipment, everything. What are the strengths? The weaknesses: about the topic, about the method, the teacher, the other students, the classroom, the audiovisual equipment, the textbooks, etc. Opportunities: what is it that can be improved, as well as threats. What is an obstacle for students to learn the topic or the classes, or not the topic, but to learn the topics that are taught in class. As well as at the end of the quarter of the semester, the teacher, I keep saying the teacher does again this SWOT assessment. Again, the teacher asks the students with an anonymous tool to tell the teacher what are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of the class, including the method, including the textbook, including the teacher, classmates, etc. End of the term, meet with other teachers piloting STEM, draw conclusions, and prepare for a follow-up course. Okay, so we encourage to empower your students, give them challenges. This is part of competency-based instruction. You know, we have to give them challenges if we want them to develop competencies. And contact us, please, if you're interested in piloting this method in your classes. Like I said, if you go to our website, usmedfusion.org, and you go into the STEMP, you will find videos and resources, downloadable resources, and pretty much all the instructions on how to implement this method in your classes. Again, these classes can be foreign language classes or content classes. And so these are also other open access resources that we offer on our website. Tomorrow I will be talking about this LWD method, which is a method for stimulating the practice of a foreign language among college and university personnel. Okay, so I haven't had an opportunity to follow the chat. I have seen that there are some comments. Well, it is now time to take questions. Adina, do you have, were you following the chat? Do you have any questions from participants that you caught? Adina? Adina? Okay.
Yes, hi. I only see a question, 2 questions, and they are the very last ones from Prayag. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. And one is, are you from a school in India? And the other one is, website for rubrics, please.
Oh, okay. No, I'm from Mexico and also the United States. We've piloted this method in public and mostly public universities in Mexico. And we've piloted this method so far for about 2 years. In the U.S., we're still sharing about the method in the U.S., and we are looking forward to seeing teachers piloting the method in their classes. And we also want teachers from other countries to pilot it. The training for the method is both in English and Spanish. Now, I'm going to show you our website, usmexfusion.org. And I'm also going to answer the question regarding rubrics. So here, I don't know if you can see the page, but if you go to STEMP, so this would be the address. Let me copy and paste it into the chat. So this is where you are going to find their videos, rubrics that you can download, pictures of classrooms where we have piloted the method in Mexico, student responsibilities, teacher responsibilities, downloadable tools like the SWOT tool. So this is where you will find all the information. Both, like I said, the training is in English as well as in Spanish. Okay, are there any other questions? You can raise your hand, you can ask the question in the chat, or you can, we can also activate the microphone here. So if you want to ask the question using your microphone, you're more than welcome to. Looks like there aren't any more questions. I guess not. Well, I guess we can end this presentation. Again, thank you for joining this presentation. Thank you for the questions, and please keep the dialogue. If you're interested in learning more about our open access resources, keep the dialogue open. My email is carlos@usnexfusion.org. So you can email me and ask me any questions regarding our open access resources that we have on our website. We have a system for comprehensive internationalization. We have this method, and we also have this other method that I'm going to be presenting tomorrow on stimulating the practice of a foreign language among personnel. Thank you very much, and I'm going to turn off the recording. This session.